So good evening everyone, this is Basavaraj Sir, your biology master teacher. Welcome to Vedantu Neet English students. So before we start the lecture, I want everyone to tell me in the chat if my voice is audible. Check to each and every one of you, and the presentation behind me is visible to everyone. Tell me in the chat quickly. Tell me in the chat quickly if my voice is audible to all of you and the presentation behind me is visible to each and every one of you. Tell me in the chat quickly. If it is visible, can I ask you all of you one question? Yes. Can I ask all of you one simple question? The simple question is, let's see. Very simple question. Who is known as the Darwin of 20th century? Tell me check quickly. Who is known as the Darwin of 20th century? Yes. Hello. Who is known as the Darwin of 20th century? And students, tell me in the chat quickly. What do you have to do? As soon as I come into the screen, I want green hearts in the chat, right? I want green hearts in the chat. Quickly, everyone. Green hearts in the chat, and we will start today's amazing class. Yes? Green hearts in the chat. Now tell me the answer. Who is known as the Darwin of 20th century? Now you might ask me, so this question, the scientist is not mentioned in the NCERT. You might tell that, sir, the scientist's name is not mentioned in the chapter. But let me tell you, before the chapter even starts, the name called as Ernest Mayr is given in your NCERT. The Ernest Mayr is known as the Darwin of your 20th century. Yes, Ernest Mayr is called as your Darwin of 20th century. Now you might ask me, so why am I learning his name? What is his importance and what has he given to the scientific community? Yes, that question might come. See, when we think of Charles Darwin, we think of evolution. When we think of Carl Linnaeus, we think of your taxonomy. Yes, right, all of you. So what comes to your mind when you think of Ernest Mayr? Students, let me tell you, he was also an evolutionary biologist. His main work was also on ornithology, zoo biogeography, as well as your taxonomy. So he's also a Darwin type. He's also an evolutionary category. Okay, students, with me now. So let's start with the chapter now. Let's not waste any time. Let's not get into anything. What is life? Can anyone tell me what is life? Can Darshini, Subhashini, hello Mani, can anyone tell me? Trisha, can anyone tell me what is the meaning of life? See, if I ask a Guruji what is life, I might get a various answer. Right? I might get various answer telling that life is all about giving, taking back and all that thing. But if I ask Meghana is a science student. Yes, Meghana is a science student like all of you. She will tell me, sir, life is all about chemical reactions. Students, let me tell you, one second, let me check if the pen is writing. 1 second, students. If I ask Meghana will be like, sir, entire life. And if you talk about science, the life is nothing but chemical reactions. Life is all about chemical reaction. Yes, I will agree. Now, this chemical reaction will include small molecules, large molecules, all types of biomolecules, right? Reaction between biomolecules. That is life, students. So what is life? Can anyone tell me in the chat now? Life is all about chemical reactions. So chemical reaction is nothing but your life. That is according to science. Now, when in your class 10th, when you were in class 10th, you might have heard this. It is a unique, complex organization of molecules that expresses itself through chemical reactions. Now, we have certain chemical reaction which can lead to, all the chemical reactions can lead to growth. Yes, I'll tell you basic development. That is, there's a reaction happening in your body called as protein synthesis. All of you agree with me, right? Harshita, protein synthesis. Whenever protein synthesis is happening, can an organism grow? Yes, can organism will grow. When an organism is growing, it will show development. Yes, organism will show development. It will show responsiveness, that is external to stimuli. Every single time there is a hindrance, you are responding to it. Adaptation and reproduction, that is an entire response of an organism. Now students, let's get into the main topic for today. The main topic for today is, if you look at the chapter students, if you look at the entire chapter, it has been divided into three categories. The entire chapter is divided into three categories. Yes. Before it was four categories. Before it was into four categories. But right now, if you open your NCERT, the entire chapter is divided into three categories. The first category is called as your what is living. What is living? What is living? And this is what we are gonna learn today. That is what is living. The second part of the chapter is basically your diversity, which includes your binomial nomenclature, which has diversity, which includes your binomial nomenclature. And the third part is going to be your aids. Okay. One second students. Third one is going to be your categories, taxonomic categories. Now this taxonomic categories is nothing but your kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus. Binomial nomenclature, this is where the most of the questions will come. Yes, most of the questions will be from your binomial nomenclature. That is the rules for binomial nomenclature. But in today's class, can everyone focus just for around 40 minutes? Just 40 minutes, I want your ultimate focus, and I will teach you what is living. There are multiple characters which you need to understand here. So if you want to understand the first part of the chapter, which is going to be your DNA batch sample, let's get into it now. Let's get into it. Now, if you open your NCERT, there might be different characters of a particular organism, right? There are different characters for an organism. For example, for an organism will have definite shape and size. Yes, an organism will have definite shape and size. Yes, sir. An organism, one second, where did it go? Yes, it will show cellular organization. It will show growth and development. It will have metabolism. It will undergo reproduction as well as homeostasis. Then we have consciousness, adaptation, evolution, repair and regeneration, aging, and finally death. There are multiple, I repeat again students, there are multiple characters. For example, if I ask you, can I ask TRP blocks? Okay, Sai. If I ask, okay, Subhashini, let's ask Subhashini itself. What is your favorite subject? She'll tell, sir, my favorite subject is chemistry or biology. There might be multiple reasons for it. She might find it more interesting. She might find it much more like, easy to relate if it's biology. Similarly, when you talk about characteristics, there are many characteristics of a living organism. Many characteristics. But if I ask you students, if I ask you, in your NCERT, if you open your NCERT, there are mainly 5 characters given. How many given? 5. You do not have to study entire of them. You do not have to study entire all the 12 characters here. If you open your NCERT, there are just 5 characters. There are just 5 characters which you need to focus. The first one is going to be your growth. Here. The first one is going to be your growth. Here. Growth and development. The first one is going to be growth and development. The second one is going to be your cellular organization. The third one is going to be metabolism. Fourth one is going to be reproduction. And the fifth one is going to be consciousness. Clear? How many are there students? In total, in your NCERT, there are just 5 characters. Just 5 characters. Starting off with, repeat after me students. The first one is going to be your growth and development. Second is going to be your cellular organization. Third one is going to be metabolism. Fourth one is going to be reproduction. And the fifth one is going to be consciousness. Fifth one is going to be consciousness. So if I ask you, how many characters are given in your NCERT which you need to understand, there are only 5 of them. And this is going to be very easy. It's going to be so easy, you'll be like, sir, there is nothing given to study here. Okay, there is nothing to even study here. So can we start? So before we start, how many of you know there's a difference? Before we start one by one, each character, there is actually a small difference. What is a small difference? When we talk about a character, there are it is divided into 2 categories. When we talk about a character, it is divided into two categories. The first category is called as your fundamental character. Fundamental character. Fundamental character. Okay. The first one is called as what? Fundamental character. The second one is called as your defining character. Defining character. Now students, if you want to understand the first part of this chapter, the basic difference between what is the meaning of fundamental character, what is the meaning of a defining character, you need to understand right now. If you want to go even further in this chapter, if you want to understand about reproduction, growth, you want to understand about metabolism, consciousness, this is the first step. Listen to me very carefully. This is my line, right? Listen to me very carefully now, all of you. It's basic difference. Basic difference. I'll teach you this with the help of a simple example. Okay. I will ask you all of you a question now. You should say yes or no. If this was a DNA batch, I could have added a poll and you could have answered yes or no. But right now, let's do yes or no. Okay. If I say a line, all plants are green color. All plants are green in color. Will that become a fundamental character? Will that become a defining character? My question is, all plants are green in color. Now that will become a fundamental character. Now why? The answer is very simple. Are there any plants which leaves can become yellow, whose leaves can become orange, they can even become brown? Or there are some plants which can even differ in color other than the green? Yes. It means that if a character has exceptions, then it is a fundamental character. I'll repeat after me. Listen to me very carefully. If a character has certain exceptions, then it becomes a fundamental character. With me, all of you? With me? If a character does not have any exceptions, then it becomes a defining character. Clear? No exceptions. No exceptions here. No exceptions. Then it is a defining character. Clear, all of you? Clear? Tell yes sir in the chat. I want to know if my students are understanding with me. Okay, Rani? Understanding? So this is a fundamental character. There are exceptions. Now I'll give you one more statement, all of you. Listen to me very carefully. The statement is, all the plants from plant kingdom have chlorophyll A. The statement is, all the plants belonging to plant kingdom, they have chlorophyll A. They will have chlorophyll A. Now if you remember my lecture from last academic year, I have told you every single plant belonging to plant kingdom will have chlorophyll A. Yes, every plant will have chlorophyll A. Yes, every plant will have chlorophyll A. Now that becomes a defining character. That becomes a defining character now, because there are no exceptions. There are no exceptions whatsoever. Clear, all of you? There is no exceptions. That's going to be defining character. If there are certain exceptions, then it becomes a fundamental character. Now what is our job now? What is our job? Our job is, there are 5 different characters. First one is going to be your growth. Second one is going to be reproduction. The third one is going to be consciousness. Then we have metabolism. Yes. Then we have reproduction. So all of these 5 characters are there, right? Consciousness and growth and response to stimuli. All these 5 characters we will be dividing if it is a fundamental or is it a defining. Okay, that is our goal now. The goal of today's class is the small goals, right? The small step. The baby step for today's class is going to be, we will be taking 5 characters and we'll be telling which character belongs to fundamental, which character belongs to defining. Can we start? Can we start, all of you? Basics, all of you. See, this is how we are going to go. All the way from the basics. Even if you do not know B of botany, I am here to teach you. Even if you do not know anything regarding biology, we are here to teach you. That is Gopika ma'am and I. So have the trust in us, and we'll be going all the way from the basics, that is living world, and we'll be teaching you every single concept from your NCERT. Okay? Yep. Excited? Okay. Now I want everyone to quickly smash that like button, and we will go ahead with the next concept. Okay? Now don't worry, all of these are not going to be there. Only consciousness. Wait, 1 second, students, 1 second. Only and only we have growth, metabolism, reproduction, cellular organization, as well as consciousness. Only 5 of the following characters are in your NCERT, and you don't have to study anything extra from it. Anything extra. Okay. Now let's understand the first character. Let's understand the first character. That is going to be growth. That is going to be growth. Growth. Now when we talk about growth, students, when we talk about growth, what comes to your mind? All of you, when we talk about growth, what comes to your mind first of all? So when we think about growth, every one of you will associate growth with increase in mass. Yes, there is increase in mass. Increase in mass. And also growth can be interpreted with increase in cell number. Increase in cell number. So when we think of growth, it's going to be increase in mass or increase in cell number. Okay, it is increase in size, mass or height of an individual. It occurs by cell division and cell expansion. Okay, cell division or cell expansion. That is, one cell is there, it is dividing into 2 cells. It is again further dividing into 4 cells. That is basic your mitosis is happening. Yes, basic mitosis, which can help in growth of an organism. Now students, growth can be, okay, let's take an example. Whom should I take from the chat? Tell me in the chat, whom should I take? Let's take Sangeeta. Okay, Sangeeta, let's consider average. Sangeeta's age is around 18 years old. She's 18 years old or 17 years old, 16 years old. Now doesn't matter, age doesn't matter. But will Sangeeta keep on growing after 30 years or after 25 years? Will she keep on growing? Tell me in the chat, will she keep on growing? No. Sangeeta will stop growing after some time, right? She will stop growing after some time, right? After some time, her height will stop. Her height will stop after some time. Sangeeta height will stop. But what about plants? Do you think plants also have an age where they will stop growing? Tell me, will they stop growing, plants? No. Plants will actually keep on growing throughout their life. They will keep on growing throughout the life. So a growth where, students, a growth where a height is stopped or the growth of an individual is stopped is called as definite growth. It is called as what? Definite growth. Or a growth where it keeps on happening throughout the life cycle of an organism, that is called as indefinite growth. Any doubt here? All of you tell me, any doubt here, Ashita? Any doubt, students? So a growth which is called as definite growth, it stops after a certain time. There is a growth called as indefinite growth which happens throughout the life cycle. Now I'll ask you one more question. Students, do you realize in my class I asked you a lot of questions, right? If this was a DNA batch, I would have made a poll. And once we add the poll, right, I can see all of your answers. I can actually see all of your answers on the board. And let me tell you. Do you think the DNA batch is going to be on a small screen or a board? See, you might have heard about a lot of batches, right? Every single batch in the world, it happens in a small screen, computer screen, right? But we are Vedantu. We want to take extra care. So students, our DNA batch is going to be, and let me tell you, this was one of those doubts regarding DNA batch, that DNA batch is going to be on the entire screen. DNA batch is going to be entire screen, and it is going to be as such itself. Like how I'm taking right now, right? The DNA batch is going to be as such itself. And you will not have 1 class or 2 class. You will have on an average of 3 classes per day, and each class is going to be at least 1.5 hours. That is, students, in total of 4.5 hours you will be with us on a daily basis. We will not going to leave you. Okay. Now listen to me very carefully. Now what is this? Can anyone tell me what is this? This is not yours. This is your bacteria. Now listen to me very carefully. In case of humans, or in the case of certain organisms, the growth and reproduction are separate characters. Growth happens separately, reproduction also happens separately in some organisms. But in the case of bacteria, students, in the case of bacteria or unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are same to same here. That is, growth equals reproduction. Every single time, listen to me very carefully. Every single time, what happened? Every single time an organism does reproduction, there is also growth. And every single time there is growth, there is reproduction happening. So in the case of bacteria or unicellular organisms, growth as well as reproduction are same to same. No doubt there, right? No doubt there. Now students, let me tell you one thing. Let's come to the main topic. The main topic is going to be, is growth a fundamental character or is it a defining character? Is growth a fundamental character or a defining character? Now, what is the definition of fundamental? In the case of fundamental character, there can be certain exceptions. All of you agree? There can be certain exceptions. But in the case of defining, there are no exceptions at all. But let me tell you about growth. In growth, students, there are two types. Let's write growth here. I want this to be very basics. I do not want any of my students to by heart anything. I'm going to go very slow. I'm going to make sure you understand every single line of NCERT. When we talk about growth, there are two types. One is called as your intrinsic growth. One is called as what? Intrinsic. Other one is called as extrinsic. Intrinsic as well as extrinsic. Now, what is intrinsic growth, students? Intrinsic growth is growth which is happening from the inside. It is happening from the inside, which is mainly seen in the case of your animals or plants, or can I say living organisms. In the case of living organisms, we notice the intrinsic growth. Intrinsic growth in the case of living organisms. Clear? Now, what is this extrinsic growth? Extrinsic growth. Listen to me very carefully, all of you. Listen to me very carefully. Extrinsic means outside. Yes. Imagine this is your mountain. Now, on top of this mountain, during the snow season, can we see an additional layer on top of it? Yes. One more layer will come on top of it? Yes. Now, this type of growth, where it is happening externally, a growth which is happening externally is called as your extrinsic growth. Now, let me ask you one more question. This type of growth is seen in your non-living things. Non-living Now, growth can be seen in living things also. Growth can be seen in non-living things also. Now, can growth then become fundamental? Yes, it is fundamental. But can growth become defining character? Can it become defining? No. It cannot become defining because there is an exception here. See here. It is an exception. Growth can be seen in the case of living also. Growth can be seen in the case of non-living also. So if there is an exception here, we cannot call it defining. Clear, all of you? Do you want me to repeat again? Ask me, students. You can ask me, majority TP. You know, my name is Basavaraj Sir. I always take up the doubts. I want my students to always ask doubts in the class so that you do not go back and think about it like oh my god, I didn't understand anything. Okay? Understood, all of you? Understood, right? Understood? So this is your extrinsic growth which is happening in the case of non-living things. Clear? See, sand dune formation as well as your glacier formation. This is extrinsic growth, is non-living. Okay, extrinsic growth. So growth is the property of living beings, but growth is not a defining property of living things. It is not a defining property of living things. So first character is done. Can I tell students, all of you? The first character is done now. Growth, I believe there should be no doubt. All you need to know what is definite growth, what is indefinite growth. You should also know what is intrinsic growth, what is extrinsic growth. And growth can be seen in the case of living and non-living. So growth is a property of living beings, but not a defining property. This is a very important topic. First topic, done. Let's go to the next topic now. Let's go to the next topic. The second topic is going to be about your reproduction. Now, what is this reproduction? All of you know from basics class 10th. All of you know what is reproduction, right? Reproduction is a biological phenomena in which an organism gives birth to a young one. Yes, it gives birth to a young one. And the young one can be identical or similar to its parents. A young one can be identical or similar to its parents. That is, a polar bear will give birth to a polar bear cub. A dog will give birth to a puppy. Yes, dog will give birth to a puppy. Now, let's look at the basic definition here. Formation of new individual of a similar kind, not essential for survival of individuals. Obviously, answer is right here. I don't know, students, why the answer is here. Okay, you didn't see this part. I was going to ask you this later on. I don't know why answer is given here. Okay, let's not focus on this. Let's not focus on that. I will tell that later on. Okay. Now we have two types of reproduction. One is called as asexual reproduction. One more is called as sexual reproduction. All of you know the basic difference, right? In asexual reproduction, what happens? In the case of asexual reproduction, there is involvement of a single parent and there is no fusion of gametes. There is no fusion of gametes. Now, what about sexual reproduction? Can anyone tell me, in the case of sexual reproduction, do we have single parent or two parents? Tell me in the chat quickly. In the case of sexual reproduction, do we have single parent or two parents? Tell me quickly. Yes, reproduction is fundamental. I told you. Answer is two. I told you the answer. Okay, don't worry. Answer is two parents. Are you sure? This is where the concept will come. Let me tell you one thing now. Sexual reproduction can also be uniparental. It also can be uniparental. This is what they don't teach you. Sexual reproduction can also be uniparental. Uniparental. Not just two, it can also be uniparental. Now you might be asking, how, sir? I have never heard about this. I have never in my life heard about sexual reproduction with uniparental. How? How? When? Why? Students, all of you know a bisexual flower? Simple. All of you know bisexual flower, right? In the bisexual flower, simple, hibiscus. Hibiscus is a bisexual flower. How many parents do we have there? We have only a single parent, right? A single bisexual flower, a single parent. But a single parent will have two types of gametes. And those two gametes will fuse. Simple, right? So next time when someone asks you, this is class C, you are preparing for Neet. You should be knowing all concepts. You don't have to by heart any of this. You should know concept that yes, in sexual reproduction there is uniparental. Uniparental means a single parent, that is bisexual conditioned flower. In the case of bisexual flower, there will be two gametes formation, male gamete and female gamete. Clear, all of you? Clear? Awesome. So students, you should know all these small things. I've already discussed this. Done. Offspring variable, easy, all of you know. Okay. So all of you know, in the case of fungus, we'll be learning in biology classification also. In the case of fungus, it is spore formation. In the case of yeast, it's budding. All of you know what is budding. In the case of flatworm, it is regeneration. In the case of bacteria, it is again binary fission. They will not ask you all of this. It's very basic concept. What they will ask you is, can all the living things reproduce? That is the question now. Can all the living things reproduce? Your answer should be, yes sir, I know, I have seen reproduction, I have heard about reproduction. Reproduction, every single organism can reproduce. Even a bacteria can reproduce. Even a fungus can reproduce. But is it true? Davina? Okay. Krishna? Vishal? Preeti? Tell me. Can all the living things reproduce? No. So answer is obviously no. Not all living things can reproduce. That there are exceptions. It means there are exceptions. It means there are some exceptions. Some organisms which cannot reproduce. For example, infertile couples. Yes, infertile couples cannot reproduce. Sterile worker bees. There is also mule. So all of these organisms, they cannot reproduce. It means that under the character reproduction, there are certain exceptions. Yes. If there are exceptions like this, can I call reproduction as a defining feature? Your answer should be no, sir. If a character has to be defining character, it means there should be no exceptions. Since there are exceptions in your reproduction, I cannot call it as a defining character. It becomes a fundamental character. It becomes a fundamental. It cannot constitute a defining. Clear, all of you? It is not a defining. Now, next one is going to be metabolism. Any doubt here? Ask me, students. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? We are done with growth. We are done with your reproduction. The next one is going to be your metabolism. Yes, next one is going to be metabolism. Then nothing. Array, Davina, wait. Your answer is coming. There are certain defining one. I'll tell you now. For example, students, what is metabolism? See, all of you know from class 6th, 7th, 8th, metabolism is nothing but it is sum total of all the chemical reaction happening in your body. Metabolism is nothing but all the reactions happening in your body. It includes anabolism and catabolism. Now, can anyone in the chat tell me an example for anabolism? Simple example. The most basic example for anabolism is going to be your photosynthesis. Yes, photosynthesis is going to be the basic example of your anabolism. Now, what about catabolism? A simple example for your catabolism is going to be your respiration. It is going to be respiration. Okay, so what is happening in anabolism? In the case of anabolism, small units with the help of energy are making a complex molecule. But in the case of catabolism, a complex molecule is breaking into smaller units. Anabolism example is photosynthesis. Catabolism example is respiration. Okay, respiration. Now the next point here is a chemical reaction which is happening in a laboratory. A chemical reaction which is happening in your laboratory performed in test tube is living or non-living. Sir, what is a mule? Mule is basically an organism which is a crossbred between a donkey and a horse. Okay. All of you know what is a mule now? Not wine. Mule. Okay. A chemical reaction performed in a test tube is living or non-living. A simple question. It is non-living? I told what is a mule, no? It is living or non-living? Obviously, your answer should be, sir, a test tube, whatever reaction happening in a test tube, it is non-living. But are the reactions happening in a test tube, are they living or non-living? The reactions which is happening in the test tube, they are living reactions. Okay. Metabolism is not seen in your non-living things. In case of your non-living things, there are no metabolism, and metabolism will happen in every single living organism. Every single living organism, metabolism will happen. Okay. It can be demonstrated outside the body in a cell-free system. Defining feature of all the living organism without exceptions. That is, without any exceptions, every single living organism will undergo metabolism, because an organism needs energy, right? It needs energy. If there is no metabolism, how will the energy even come? True, right? Now, there is one line I want everyone to focus here. Students, this line here. This line of your NCERT is so beautiful. Such a beautiful line here. Listen to me very carefully. Such a beautiful line. Isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are non-living things. So all the reaction which is happening, reaction can happen in vitro are non-living. But the living reactions, that is isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are non-living things but living reactions. So it is happening in non-living. It is non-living only. Reactions are non-living. That it is happening in vitro condition which is non-living, but the reactions are going to be living, because the reactions which are happening in the test tube, the same reaction is happening in your body also. Okay, the reactions can be living, but the reaction entire it is non-living. Okay, but you should remember, the point you should remember here is the metabolism will happen. The metabolism will happen in every single organism. Okay, that is, metabolism is a defining property of living beings. Metabolism is a defining property of living beings, because there are no exceptions. There are no living things where metabolism will not happen. Okay, clear? If everything is clear, I want quick green eyes in the chat, because we are done with 3 characters. First one was growth, fundamental. Reproduction, fundamental. Metabolism is going to be your defining. The next one is going to be cellular organization. All of you know the basic cellular organization, right? Cellular organization is basically dividing the work. Like in your house, when lot of guests will come, your mother will tell you, Sangeeta, you go fold the clothes. She will tell your brother to do something. So they will divide the work will be divided, right? That is called as cellular organization. And every single organism, students, let me tell you, every single organism will show cellular organization. Every single organism, even it may be unicellular organism, even if it is unicellular organism, within that one cell, there will be organization. Clear? That is, differentiation of body into smaller units. Organelles interact with each other for a proper functioning of the cell. Due to the presence of organization, a living being is called as organism. So cellular organization is a defining property of living beings. It can be unicellular or it can be multicellular. There has to be cellular organization. If there is no cellular organization within that one cell, if it is unicellular, within that one cell there will be organization. Clear all of you? So the fourth one, cellular organization is also a defining property of living beings. Now, the next concept, all of you. Now imagine, okay, we have Kavya here, okay. I will take one ball and I will throw the ball at you. What will you do? Tell me. If I take one ball and I throw the ball at you, what will I do? What will you do? Imagine you are standing very close. To me. You will try to dodge it. Yes, you will try to dodge the ball. Or if you are very pro, you will try to catch the ball. Right? You will try to catch the ball. Either of two things will happen. Either you will dodge the ball or you will catch the ball. Right? That is, every reaction, I am putting a reaction, that is your stimuli. You are reacting to it. Yes, you are reacting to the stimuli. That is called as your consciousness. That is also reacting to stimuli, that is also belongs to your consciousness. That is your consciousness. So you're conscious about it, right? Like you'll dodge it or you'll catch it. That is basically a property of your living organisms. Every living organism will respond to stimuli. For example, this plant is there. See, beautiful sunflower. It is responding to the sunlight. That is called as your photoperiodism. Yes, that is called as what? Photoperiodism. It is responding to the sunlight. That is called as photoperiodism. Now, all of these reactions, you are able to see the ball. How? Through your eyes. Sensory organ. Imagine there is a nice biryani in the house. Nice good biryani is happening. What will you do? You will open your nose. You will be like, nice biryani smell. You will go behind the biryani smell, right? That is, you are responding to the stimuli with the help of your nose. There are other organs such as your ears, hand, tongue. So all of these are your sensory organs. And listen, students, listen to me. Consciousness is also a defining property of living beings. It is also property of your living beings. What is photoperiodism? Don't worry. Photoperiodism I'll be teaching you when I'll be teaching your plant physiology. Don't worry about all that now. Okay, we will go slow. We will go chapter by chapter. We'll go concept by concept. Okay, we'll go concept by concept. Okay, so consciousness is also a defining property of living beings. That is, every single organism is responding to stimuli. So even the bacteria, students, even the bacteria will respond to the food which you give it. More food, the bacteria will grow. Less food, the bacteria will reduce. It is responding to stimuli. That is called as consciousness. Now there are multiple types of stimuli. It can be physical, chemical, or biological. For example, have you seen this plant? As soon as you touch the plant, the leaves will start to close. That is called as your thigmonastic movement. It is also responding to the stimuli. Respond to stimuli. Now there is one more concept comes in. The one more concept is like humans is the only organism that has self-consciousness. That has self-consciousness. Now, what is the self-consciousness? Well, listen to me very carefully. Imagine you're going to meet your friend, special friend. Imagine you're going to meet your special friend. What will you do? You're like, okay, fine. My hair is looking nice. I'm powder on the face. Okay, my face is looking nice. Nice shirt you will wear, right? Nice shirt you will wear, or nice t-shirt you will wear, and then you'll go meet your friend. That is called as self-consciousness. That is called as what? Self-consciousness. And that can be seen only in the case of humans. That can be seen in the case of only humans. Now, one question is there. Can I ask you one more question, all of you? Always, in my class, you always deal with questions. You always deal with questions. The question is very simple. A person is in coma now. Imagine a person is in coma. He's just staying there. The person is alive only and only because of the medical instruments. Now that person has consciousness or not? Simple question. Can that person has consciousness or not? See, I told you, consciousness is a defining, right? Consciousness is a defining property. Consciousness is a defining property. What about self-consciousness? See, consciousness is a defining property. What about self-consciousness? Listen to me very carefully, students. This is a doubt which many students have. I will clear the doubt now only. A person in coma will have consciousness. A person in coma, students, a person in coma will have consciousness, and we call that consciousness called as your cellular consciousness. It's called as what? Cellular consciousness. It's called as what? Cellular consciousness. That is, every single time you treat that patient, see, a patient will have a lot of tubes going inside, and every single time you are treating the patient with some medicine, the patient is responding to that medicine. Yes, he or she is responding to the medicine. That is called as your cellular consciousness. Cellular consciousness. So consciousness becomes a defining property. Consciousness become a defining property or character. Property or character. Listen to me very carefully. The self-consciousness, which is found only in the case of humans, this is fundamental. This is fundamental. It is fundamental. Because your person in coma, a person in coma will not have, he or she will not have self-conscious. A person in coma will not have self-consciousness, but he or she will have cellular consciousness. He or she will have cellular consciousness. Is the concept clear? Tell me yes. If it is not clear, I will repeat for all my students. Tell me in the chat quickly. Students, this is how it's going to be in DNA batch. This is how it's going to be in DNA batch, where I will be addressing all the important concepts. I'll be addressing every issue. And let me tell you, in DNA batch, I'll be teaching on the board. I will be teaching on board, and I will be teaching just like this, from the basics. Every single chapter, I will take 3 classes. A simple chapter as Living World, I'll be taking in detail in 3 chapters. Clear all of you? So a person in coma will have cellular consciousness. A person in coma will not have self-consciousness. He or she will not have self-consciousness. Okay. So the person in coma is living. A person in coma is living. Okay. So what we learned now? What did we learn? We learnt about, students, let me summarize what we learnt. When we talk about character, there are two types. One is called as your fundamental. The other one is called as your defining. Defining means there are no exceptions. It means there are no exceptions. Under fundamental, we learnt about growth. We also learnt about reproduction. Under defining, we learnt about metabolism. We learnt about cellular organization as well as consciousness. So these are the different characters which is given in NCERT, and you should know growth and reproduction are fundamental. Metabolism, cellular organization as well as consciousness are defining. Means there are no exceptions. It means there are no exceptions. Now, does anyone has any doubt? Tell me, does anyone has any doubt? Now, some of you might be asking, when is Menti on all that, right? So students, in DNA batch, when we will be starting DNA batch, I'll tell you, in DNA batch, every single day within the class, I will take Menti. Within the class, it's a Vedantu software itself. Within the class, there will be many questions, and every single question there will be a Menti. Okay, and at the end of every single class, there will be a dedicated doubt solving, and also there will be a dedicated leaderboard. Now, you might be thinking, sir, I had some doubt. See, this is your Rama ma'am teaching here. This is your Rama. One second, students. Let me decrease the brightness. See, all of you can see the screen now, right? Since this was a demo of your, okay, don't see my face is all dark now. This was your demo, right? So listen to me. In your, I took around 20-30 slides now. You, in the app, you will have a chat option where you can chat and you can ask your doubts, or you can directly text me, or you can respond to me. If you click on doubt, there will be a option like this. Do you see? And if you click on the option, tell me, yes, sir, I have a doubt on 13th slide. So I will be naming my slides. On my just click on 13. And I will know that you have a doubt. You have a doubt on 13th slide, and I will go to 13th slide, again back to 13th slide, and then I'll clear your doubt like that. And students, you'll be like, sir, I don't want to ask doubt within the class. I don't want to ask the doubt, right? I don't want to ask doubt when in the class. After the class is over, students, we'll have a dedicated doubt. Doubt counter where you can ask all your doubts. See, that is what difference between the YouTube and DNA is going to be. See, we'll be taking class on YouTube also. All my classes will be happening on YouTube also. The only difference, the main difference is going to be this. These are the key differences. That is, as soon as my class is over, right, you will have a replay option of my entire class. And as soon as my class is over, you will have a separate button where entire notes will be updated then and there. And within the class, students, now here, Vishal, if I ask you a question, I cannot give a Menti here. If this was DNA batch, there would have been a lot of questions there, and all you need to do was click and answer, and your name will be there on the leaderboard. That will pop up, and that I cannot do on the DNA, right? See, I cannot do it on YouTube. In YouTube, I can see the comments here, but I cannot see the doubts directly. I cannot see that. Right? That is going to be the difference. And after every class, students, in DNA batch, after every class, there will be assignments. And the timing is going to be morning 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Morning 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Now you might ask, sir, why till 3:30? Why can't we keep DNA in the evening? You might ask, right? Why can't we keep the DNA batch in the evening? The answer is very simple. Because in the evenings, we'll be doing YouTube. So if you are in the DNA, you'll be joining the lectures on DNA. And after DNA lectures are over, you can also come on YouTube. You can also come on YouTube also and learn with us. So the entire structure will be balanced out. DNA plus YouTube is going to happen every single day. Clear? That is what I wanted to prove today. How it's going to be. It is going to be happening in the big board. It's going to be happening in the bigger board. Okay. Now we have teacher, all of you and the teachers, we have syllabus will be completed in 7 months. All the doubts, assignments, materials will be given to you. All the materials will be given to you, and all of you know the cost, right? That's going to be 3,999, and this is going to be only till 15th. Only till 15th it's going to be there. Once 15th is over, the price might become 3 times or 4 times or 5 times higher. And that's going to be it. That's going to be your entire DNA. And this was just a sample of what DNA batch is going to be and how it's going to be in DNA batch. And don't worry, students, all of you will be wondering, sir, YT will not happen or what? Right? YT will happen. But there is a difference between YouTube classes and DNA batch. In DNA batch, I will be taking basics of botany. My first class is going to be basics of botany for 3 classes. 3 classes I'll be taking for basics of botany. In that basics, I'll be teaching you entire botany of your class 11th and 12th in 3 classes. What you need to know. After that, my first class, the first chapter I will be taking on DNA batch is going to be cell chapter. Because cell chapter is a chapter which is very easy, but it is complex at the same time. It is complex at the same time. So I'll be taking cell chapter in my DNA class. And students, if you are in a class 10th, if you are in class 10th, right, and class 10th or class 12 students, if you want to get into JE or Neet or anything, and if you want one-to-one session, with your Shreyas sir, there is a link in the description, and we want everyone to talk to Shreyas sir also. He has almost 12 to 15 years of experience on teaching, 12 years of teaching experience. Always you can talk to him. Okay, so there it is. And students, don't be like, sir, YouTube will not happen. YouTube will happen. We'll be launching on YouTube also some separate series for YouTube students also. But there will be a clear difference. There will be a clear difference between DNA and YouTube also. And I hope you know the difference. And hopefully you can make the right decision. And I will see you in the next class. Until then, take care all of you. Bye-bye. And if you ask me how to enroll to DNA batch, if you go to the description of today's video, there will be a link saying that enroll now for DNA, and it will be in your DNA. Okay students, bye-bye, take care all of you. Good night. And I hope there was no doubt today, right? There was no doubt. That is main concern. Clear all your doubts and then go home. Check, sound check. Okay, I'm not able to log out. Once again. Oh, but diversity. See, I made diversity also. This I'll be teaching later on, diversity and all.